welcome back. How would you like to never be affected by an insult again and to actually see it as a blessing? Seems almost impossible, but I'm going to show you how. The first thing to recognize is whenever we are insulting somebody is there's always at the core denial and projection. Now let me explain how denial and projection work. The first thing is this: whenever we judge, blame, criticize, hate anyone or anything, all we are ever doing is talking about ourselves, a piece of ourselves we're not aware of, and ultimately we haven't forgiven. Now, it may be true that this other person or situation, they're doing all of this, but the only reason we can see it is because it's operating in us as well. But no one's taught us how to see it. So I'm going to show you how to see it. It happens in two ways, either direct or indirect, okay? The first direct way that judgment, blame, and criticism is denial and projection is simple. What if I said to you, I can't stand men who wear bright colored suits, decorate their house in all these colors, wear these silly pocket squares. Oh my God, they drive me nuts. They're so stupid. Well, who am I talking about? Me. Look at my house. Look at the way I dress. So many times when we're criticizing somebody, we're literally criticizing something that we're directly doing ourselves. Now that's easy for us to see. This is the tricky one, indirect denial. And this is what trips most people up, because they're like, wait a minute, I don't do any of those things I hate, judge, blame, and criticize. Well, this is the secret. It took me years to figure this piece out. And I'll tell you the day I did it. I was driving. And I've always had this frustration with the way people drive. People getting on the highway. You're supposed to get up to speed, but they merge at like 40 miles an hour. People in the left lane driving too slow. Or my favorite, the one that drove me the most insane, was the left-hand turn. You know how you're sitting at a light and there's a car in front of you and they won't turn because there's another car coming, they have their brinker on, and they're gonna turn right. Well, the rules of the road is you're both supposed to turn at the same time and just stay in your lanes. Well, the person turning right usually crosses 3 lanes and this person usually waits. Well, that's not what you're supposed to do. And I would scream, you guys are so stupid, why don't you go? Or if I was the first car, I would go and that car turning right would honk at me, and I always wanted to have a driver's manual, like read the manual. But anyway, one day I was sitting there and I was screaming at this truck in front of me, why won't you go? You guys are so stupid. And I paused and I went, but this is about me. I'm in denial, I'm projecting. I'm judging, blaming, and criticizing somebody else. And I went, but I don't do that, I go. And here's the trick. Remember, we become our emotions, not our thoughts. Thoughts are a waste of time. What you want to focus on in your judgment, blame, and criticism is the emotional content of the words you're saying. So I paused and I asked myself, what's the emotional content? I hate stupid drivers. Do you see it? Stupid. Well, look at my life story. Multiple addictions, married 2 narcissistic women. One of them was physically and verbally abusive. A bankruptcy, 2 professional sports I never wanted to play. Contemplated suicide. I'm literally the dumbest person I've ever met. I was talking to myself indirectly. I was using the examples of the cars to scream back at me, Kenny, will you please go heal your pain? Will you please forgive yourself for your perfect imperfections? So can you see, when we insult others, we're screaming back at ourselves, and that means when they insult us, they are as well. Do you see how that frees everybody? Can you see the political unrest in the world? How if everybody knew this, the second they did this, they went, oh. Can you see in your relationship, the second you yell at your spouse, you go, oh. Again, it doesn't mean they're not behaving in that way, but the only thing we can control is ourselves. If we heal ourselves, we don't see them. So like now, I pull up to a light, a car doesn't do that. I could literally sit for days, just listen to music. I'm like, do whatever you want. I'm done beating myself up. I'm done shaming myself. I've forgiven me. so I can just sit behind a car and not even worry about it. So now I want to show you 3 steps to turn all of this around so you can see it. And this will help you see how to love being insulted. And to do that, I'm going to give you an example from a comment I got, I don't know, maybe a year ago on social media. And there are 3 steps to this process. The first one is own your side of the street. The second is to turn it around. The third incorporates 3 things: empathize, appreciate, and stay boundaried. So I'm going to read you. This was a comment after, I can't remember what the video was, but something I posted. And this is a comment from a viewer. He said, "You are an esoteric, egocentric con man, trying to convince yourself that you are something other than a garden variety personality coupled with an average wit. Those you would most like to convince of your worth are the ones that most easily recognize how basic you are." Okay, so the first piece in this, when the insult comes in, is to turn it on ourselves and take ownership. What in what he said is true? And so that was, look, I was just like you. When it came in, I was like, rah, But I know when you get that defensive reaction, that means I'm in denial. There's truth in it. I need to look at this. So I paused and I went, what is he saying that's true? Well, here was my reply. I said, I would agree that yes, I can be egocentric. It's something I'm always working on. You're also correct that unfortunately, I do have an average wit. My older brother is much funnier than I am, and I've always been jealous of that. I also think it's true that especially when I was younger, I was quite the con man. It was just the best I could do. I didn't have any self-esteem, so everything had to be a con. I can definitely own those traits. I know that I'm very thankful that you see so much of me. It's always a tremendous gift when somebody invests their valuable time in seeing all of me. Do you see how fortunate I am? The man made a lot of truthful comments about me. I do struggle with my ego. I wish I had a better wit. There's a lot of truth in that. So I just owned it. Because I faced my denial and my own self-criticism, I can own, yeah, there's a lot of truth in what he says. Now, the other side of it is, look at how vulnerable he was with me. And I'm going to show you how he was vulnerable and why I said this at the end. I know that I'm very thankful that you see so much of me. It's always a tremendous gift when someone invests their valuable time in seeing me. And this is the turnaround. This is how, think in your relationships. When you've been insulted, think about the political landscape now and the social landscape with everybody insulting and claiming people are all these different things. Take their words and turn them around. This is what he was also saying about himself. I am an esoteric, egocentric con man, trying to convince you, Kenny, and others that I am something other than a garden variety personality coupled with an average wit. Those I would most like to convince of my worth are the ones that most easily recognize how basic I am. My God, how lucky am I that this man shared his deep, dark brokenness with me. That's what he did. That's why that last sentence is that I'm so thankful. See, that gets to step 2, empathize. When somebody insults us, what they're sharing is that deep, dark, broken piece of themselves they're not aware of, and ultimately they've never healed and forgiven themselves. He's none of these things. All of those thoughts were placed into him in his childhood, and he's been carrying them his whole life. My heart breaks for that. He doesn't even know that's how he sees himself. That's sad and overwhelmingly heartbreaking that he's in so much pain, and he carries that every day. Can you see now, politically, socially, relationally, when the insult comes at you and you flip it, you go, holy Jones, this person just bared their soul to me. I am the luckiest person on the planet. How fortunate am I that they chose, like this man, I'm a stranger to him, and he cared enough about me to expose his soul to me. I am the most gifted person on this planet that he chose me to share that with. That's the empathy piece. The third piece is have boundaries. I didn't point that out to him. That's his journey. He gets to discover that if he wants to. It's not my place to decide for him. He's perfectly fine where he is. He gets to live his life the way he chooses. And I personally believe that the only reason he's stuck in this is because people have never seen this video. They don't know that this is how it works. We've never taught this. So how could he be blamed? Like, how can I be angry at him? No one's taught him that he's talking to himself. I don't blame him for that. My heart breaks for him. That's why I do this. Could you imagine how much pain, how much less pain his life would have in it if he knew what he was saying? How could I be angry at him? How? It's not possible. How could I be angry at any of the social things that are going on? It's just people expressing their unhealed pain and screaming at themselves. So, how do you find this in yourself? Well, the first step is look for the emotional content in your judgment. Remember, I said, I hate stupid drivers. Stupid. That was the key. Do you directly think you're stupid, or do you directly already know you do stupid things? Or is it indirect? Is it a metaphor? What you're looking for is the metaphor of the emotional content. That shows you the unhealed parts of yourself you haven't addressed and ultimately haven't forgiven yourself for. You lack empathy for yourself, and you're projecting that lack of empathy for yourself onto the other person. You're sharing your pain with them, okay? That's step number one, to find it in yourself. Step number two, do the recovery work. Heal yourself. Get in a program, get with an expert to find out how this works, to see how those messages were placed into you. They're not yours. They're not authentic. They're just pain. Just get help to move through it. Step number three, forgive yourself. You're perfectly imperfect, just like this man. How could he be blamed? Nobody's taught him this. He's doing the best he can with the information he has at the time. As we know better, we can do better. Now you tell me, how did this man hurt me? He didn't. He showed me parts of myself that I'm aware of, that I've healed. He also showed his soul to me. What a gift, a complete stranger. He gave me his whole brokenness. I am one of the luckiest men on the planet. And so I get, here and there, people who judge and blame and criticize me. It's one of the greatest comments I get. Now I don't engage because they're in their journey and they get to stay where they are. But I'm a very, very fortunate man, and so are you. I don't condone abuse. I don't condone insults. But when we have the proper skills and tools, can you see how everything changes? We are set free, and so are they. Ultimately, insults allow us to see our own perfect imperfections and the perfect imperfections of the person insulting us. Can you see how that leads to a deeper level of mutual understanding and empathy? Now think about, with this, all the social unrest in the world, if everybody knew this, that they knew when they're insulting, judging, blaming, criticizing everybody else, it's actually two people expressing their own perfect imperfections and brokenness. We'd come to a lot more agreement and a lot less discord if we all knew that when we were pointing the finger at others, we were both really just making a request for empathy and understanding. So I hope that helps you and shows you that insults actually are a blessing when you have this new knowledge, which you can develop a skill and turn into a tool. If you think this will help someone you care about, please share it. Leave me a comment. Let me know your thoughts. And if you'd like, go ahead and subscribe. And as always, enjoy the journey.